What if I told you that attraction isn't just about looks, money, or cheesy pickup lines? What if the key to making any woman pay attention, even the one who seems completely disinterested, lies in how you show up, not what you say? When it comes to attracting a woman who doesn't seem interested, the first and most important principle you need to understand is emotional detachment. This concept goes far beyond just not caring or pretending to be aloof. It's about cultivating a mindset where your sense of identity, confidence, and self-worth is not tied to whether or not a particular woman gives you attention or validation. The moment you place her on a pedestal and make her approval the measuring stick of your value, you've already lost your power. And women, whether they realize it consciously or not, can sense this immediately. You see, emotional detachment isn't about being cold or indifferent in a hostile way. It's about being centered. It means you have a strong inner world that doesn't get shaken or stirred by rejection, silence, or emotional games. When a man is detached from outcome, his energy becomes incredibly powerful because he no longer operates from a place of fear. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. All of that dissolves when you're emotionally independent, and this, paradoxically, is what makes women take notice. Most men operate from a scarcity mindset. They see a beautiful woman and immediately think, I need to impress her. I need to win her over. I hope she likes me. That mindset is the beginning of self-sabotage because it subtly communicates to her that you don't view yourself as the prize, you view her as the prize. And when she picks up on that, the dynamic shifts. She becomes the selector. She becomes the one in control. Emotional detachment flips that script. It puts you back in control because you're no longer operating from desperation, but from abundance. You're no longer chasing, you're choosing. This doesn't mean you don't care about women or that you don't value connection. It means you don't hinge your self-esteem on whether or not one woman sees your worth. You recognize that attraction is a two-way street and that you're allowed to be discerning. Emotional detachment gives you the power to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you, not out of ego, but out of self-respect. And when you carry yourself with that kind of quiet confidence, it creates a gravitational pull. You stop reacting, you stop over-explaining, you stop trying to perform or prove anything. You simply exist in your truth, and that truth is that you are already enough, with or without her interest. Women are emotional creatures. They respond more to how you make them feel than what you say. When you're detached, your presence feels grounded and calm. You're not anxious. You're not fidgeting. You're not trying to fill every silence with words. And that kind of stillness makes you unpredictable. It makes you hard to read. It makes you intriguing. While every other man is throwing himself at her, over-communicating, seeking approval, and trying too hard, you become the contrast. You become the man who seems completely unaffected, and that mystery makes her want to lean in. Let's be real, the men who get obsessed with women who don't like them back are the ones who haven't built anything meaningful within themselves. They don't have a mission, a direction, or an identity outside of chasing women. Emotional detachment isn't just about women, it's a lifestyle. It's a byproduct of living for something greater than romance. A man with a vision doesn't panic when a woman isn't interested. He's too busy building. He's too busy evolving. He sees disinterest not as rejection, but as redirection. That's power. When you start to detach emotionally, you also develop a level of selectivity. You don't need every woman to like you because you know most won't be aligned with your values, your vision, or your energy. You stop treating women like trophies and start treating them like potential partners, someone who needs to also prove their worth to be in your life. That shift is massive. It changes how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you engage. You stop needing to impress and you start observing. You become more composed, less reactive, and infinitely more attractive. Most men never get to this point because they're addicted to external validation. But once you develop true emotional detachment, you stop being controlled by the desire for female attention. You become immune to the emotional roller coaster. You stop getting excited when she texts and depressed when she doesn't. You find joy in your own growth, your own peace, your own momentum, and that's exactly when women, especially the ones who initially weren't interested, start to look at you differently. They wonder why you're not chasing, why you're not fazed, why you seem so full even when they offer you nothing, and that curiosity, that intrigue, it's the seed of attraction. Confidence is one of the most misunderstood traits when it comes to attraction. Most people think confidence is about being loud, dominant, or over the top. But real confidence, the kind that pulls a woman in without you even trying, is subtle. It's not something you flaunt. It's something you carry. It lives in your posture, your voice, your presence, and even your silence. It's in how you walk into a room without needing to be noticed. Yet somehow people can't help but notice. That's magnetic. And women pick up on it instantly, even if they can't fully explain why. The truth is, women are incredibly perceptive when it comes to emotional energy. They can sense insecurity even if you say all the right things. You could be dressed well, have a nice car, and have smooth lines, but if the energy behind it is needy or performative, it kills the attraction. That's why silent confidence is so powerful. It doesn't beg for attention, it doesn't chase validation. It's not seeking approval, it's grounded in the understanding that you already have value, regardless of who's watching. A man with silent confidence doesn't need to dominate a conversation. He listens more than he speaks, and when he does speak, it's measured and intentional. He doesn't over-explain himself. He doesn't seek to convince. His tone is calm and self-assured, like a man who trusts himself not because he's perfect, but because he's real, and that kind of energy disarms people. It lowers their defenses. For women especially, it creates a sense of security and intrigue. They feel safe, but also challenged because you're not giving them everything, you're not performing, you're simply being. The essence of this kind of confidence comes from self-respect. It's not arrogance. It's not fake bravado. It's not about acting like you're better than everyone. It's the quiet belief that you don't need to compare yourself to anyone, because your journey is your own. You've seen your own darkness. You've fought your own battles. You've been rejected, betrayed, tested, and you're still here, standing, growing, evolving. That depth becomes part of your aura. You don't need to say a word about it because it's felt. It radiates. Think about how most men behave when they're trying to get a woman's attention. They exaggerate stories. They laugh too loud. They agree too quickly. They seek permission to express themselves. But the man who is truly confident doesn't operate from that place. He isn't looking to impress. He's looking to express authentically, and if it resonates, great. If not, he's not shaken. He's not performing to win someone over. That emotional independence is rare, and rare always stands out. Even in body language, a confident man speaks volumes. He stands with his shoulders relaxed, not stiff. He takes up space naturally without being aggressive. His eye contact is steady but not invasive. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't rush. He moves with purpose, like a man who knows where he's going. Even if no one else does, that kind of presence makes a woman lean in. She starts to wonder who he is, what drives him, what he's about, because something about him feels different, real, grounded, and that's what makes him unforgettable. It's also worth noting that confidence comes from competence. If you want to build real inner confidence, you can't fake it. You have to earn it. You earn it by doing difficult things, by keeping promises to yourself, by showing up when it's hard, by failing and still pushing forward. Every time you step into discomfort and survive it, you gain a layer of confidence that no one can take from you, and that confidence becomes part of your identity. It's not fragile, it's not situational. It doesn't collapse when someone doesn't like you. It remains because it was forged in fire. When you carry this kind of confidence into your interaction with women, it changes everything. You don't need to chase, you don't need to prove, you don't need to win her over. You let the interaction unfold naturally. If she's interested, great. If she's not, you're still whole. You're not moved by her attention, you're rooted in who you are. And ironically, this is often the exact quality that makes her start to feel something. You become the opposite of what she's used to. You become the man who doesn't seek to be chosen because he's already chosen himself. Confidence also shows in how you handle silence. Most men get uncomfortable when there's a pause in conversation. They rush to fill the gap with jokes, stories, or questions. But a confident man embraces the silence. He's not in a hurry to entertain. He's not nervous about a pause. He lets the moment breathe, and in that space, attraction can grow, because silence creates tension. It allows both people to actually feel the connection or lack of it. And when a woman feels that tension with a man who seems completely at ease, it creates a powerful emotional pull. In the end, silent confidence is about mastery of self, not perfection mastery. You know your flaws, but you're not defined by them. You've accepted your story, your scars, your shadows. You don't seek to hide them or explain them away. You live in your truth, and that truth carries a power that no pickup line, flashy car, or fake bravado ever could. Women feel it. They may not be able to name it, but they'll feel it, and that feeling lingers. It plants a seed, and sometimes that seed of curiosity turns into attraction, even from a woman who wasn't interested at first. Attraction isn't just about how you look, what you say, or even how much you like a woman. One of the most powerful ways to draw a woman toward you, especially one who may not initially be interested, is by creating a life that she wants to be a part of. This isn't about impressing her or putting on a show. It's about building a lifestyle that is so full, so purpose-driven, and so rich in value that simply being around you becomes a desirable experience. You stop chasing women, and they start wondering why you're so focused, so disciplined, so alive, and why they aren't already part of your world. Most men make the mistake of revolving their life around the pursuit of women. They work out just to be more attractive. They learn social skills just to get a date. They hustle for money just to gain attention. But here's the paradox. The men who women actually chase are the ones who aren't chasing them at all. They're too consumed by their mission. They're too dialed into their goals. Their priority, not a woman's attention. And this creates a kind of gravitational pull. Because when a woman sees a man who is deeply invested in himself and his purpose, it stirs something inside her. It triggers curiosity. It creates emotional contrast, while every other man is seeking her out. This man is building something, and suddenly she wants to be part of it. Think about it. Would you want to join a life that feels empty, stagnant, or reactive? No one does. And women especially are drawn to movement, to growth, to energy. When you have a life that's constantly evolving, whether it's through your career, your fitness, your creative pursuits, or your personal development, it signals abundance. It signals that you don't need her to complete you because you're already full. And in that fullness, you become attractive. Not because you're trying to be, but because you've become a man who naturally emits purpose. This doesn't mean you need to be rich or famous. That's superficial. What matters is direction. You could be a broke artist on a mission, a startup founder grinding with passion, or a man rebuilding his life from scratch. But if you're moving with clarity and intention, it shows. It's not about status. It's about alignment. a man who knows where he's going and is unapologetically walking. That path radiates a kind of energy that is magnetic. It's rare, it's admirable, and most importantly, it's emotionally attractive. When a woman sees a man who is deeply committed to his journey, she doesn't just see him, she sees potential. She sees a future. She sees leadership, protection, ambition, traits that have always drawn women in, regardless of time, culture, or background. And what makes it even more powerful is that he doesn't need her. He's not building his life in hopes that someone will join. He's building it because it's who he is, and that independence makes her want to join him even more. Another critical piece of this is lifestyle design. What does your average day look like? Is it filled with purpose, discipline, and momentum? Or is it reactive, chaotic, and empty? Because the man who wakes up with intention, who trains his body, nourishes his mind, builds his skills, and pursues excellence, that man becomes a force. He becomes someone people want to be around. His life becomes the invitation, not his words. He doesn't need to persuade a woman to like him. She experiences his world and wants to stay. It also changes how you interact with women. When your life is full, you don't become emotionally dependent on their attention. You don't get overly excited when they text you or anxious when they don't. You have things to do, you have goals to hit, you have a vision to execute, and that emotional steadiness is incredibly attractive because it shows emotional maturity. You're not a boy hoping for love to complete him. You're a man who is complete, and love would be a bonus, not a lifeline. When you create a life she wants to be part of, everything about your presence changes. You walk differently. You speak with more purpose. You carry yourself with pride, not arrogance, but earned self-respect. You're not looking for permission to exist. You've already decided that your life is meaningful, that your time is valuable, that your standards matter, and that energy sets a tone. It commands respect, not through force, but through alignment. This is also where passion becomes critical. Women are drawn to men who are passionate, not just about women, but about life. If you have nothing that lights you up, nothing that makes you come alive, then your energy will always feel flat. Passion breathes life into you. It creates intensity, drive, and magnetism. Whether it's art, business, fitness, writing, or something else, when you pursue your passion with conviction, you become more than just another man. You become a creator, a builder, a leader, and leaders don't chase, they attract. Your life should be your resume, not your job title, not your possessions, but your mindset, your habits, your purpose. When a woman steps into your world, she should feel the difference. She should feel the structure, the direction, the vision. She should feel like she's walking into something real, something she could respect, admire, and contribute to. And if she doesn't feel that, she won't stay, no matter how good you look or how clever your words are. So ask yourself, is your life attractive? Would someone looking from the outside want to be a part of what you're building? Are you a man of momentum, or a man who's just waiting to be chosen? Because once you take full ownership of your life, your habits, and your energy, you stop needing to impress women. You start expressing your truth, and when your truth is powerful, your lifestyle becomes the invitation. Not every woman will accept it, but the right ones will. And sometimes even the ones who initially weren't interested will take a second look. Not because you chased them, but because you became a man they can't ignore. One of the most underrated but powerful ways to shift a woman's perception of you, especially if she wasn't initially interested, is by mastering the art of emotional control. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending that nothing affects you. It's about gaining such deep awareness of your emotional landscape that you respond instead of react, and you lead with presence rather than impulse. Most men, when faced with emotional tension, rejection, or disinterest from a woman, instantly crumble. They become desperate, overly emotional, reactive, or bitter. But a man who has cultivated emotional mastery stands out because he brings stability into chaos. He becomes the calm in the storm, and that energy is not just attractive, it's rare. Emotional control begins with self-awareness. You cannot manage what you're not even conscious of. Most men walk around with unresolved insecurities, fears, and ego-based triggers that hijack their behavior without them even knowing it. A woman says something offhand, and suddenly he's trying to prove himself. She pulls back slightly, and now he's texting double, asking what's wrong. She flirts with another man, and he becomes jealous or starts competing. All of these reactions are unconscious, and women notice them. Maybe not always logically, but emotionally. And the moment a man becomes reactive to her behavior, she feels it. She senses weakness, emotional volatility, and a lack of inner control. But when a man has done the inner work, when he has faced his fears, questioned his patterns, healed from his past, and built a strong emotional foundation, his energy becomes unshakable. He doesn't react to games. He doesn't beg for clarity. He doesn't spiral when she's cold or distant. He watches. He stays composed. He observes the situation without allowing it to dictate his identity or self-worth. And that composure, that discipline, that restraint, it communicates high value without a single word. Women are drawn to emotional stability because it makes them feel safe, and not just physically, emotionally. When a woman interacts with a man who doesn't get flustered, doesn't get easily offended, and doesn't try to control or force anything, she starts to lower her guard. She begins to relax in his presence because she intuitively knows that this man is in control of himself. He's not dangerous, he's not manipulative, he's not needy. He is clear, solid, and reliable, and that creates a kind of emotional intimacy that can't be faked. It builds trust, even if she didn't feel attraction right away. A key component of emotional control is patience. Most men are so uncomfortable with uncertainty that they rush everything. They try to force connection. They need answers. They want validation now. But a man who's emotionally in control understands that attraction is a process, not an event. He's okay with space. He's okay with slow builds. He doesn't need immediate gratification because he's not emotionally starving. He's already full. And that patience allows tension to build, and tension is the fuel of attraction. Think about how powerful it is when a man doesn't take the bait. A woman tries to test him, maybe by teasing him, ignoring his message, or making him wait, and instead of reacting, he smiles. He doesn't chase, he doesn't punish, he doesn't pout. He simply remains centered. That moment tells her everything she needs to know about him. That he's not controlled by her, that he's not fragile, that he's not going to fold. The second she withdraws attention, that kind of self-control is masculine energy in its purest form, and it creates a stark contrast with the majority of men she's encountered. Another layer to emotional control is how you handle your own emotions, not just in relation to her, but in your life in general. Are you easily angered? Do you take everything personally? Are you able to sit with discomfort, or do you run from it into distractions, addictions, or constant stimulation? Because a man who can't sit alone with himself can't lead a relationship. Emotional control is the foundation of leadership, and whether she says it or not, a woman is always looking for a man who can lead, not control her, but lead with presence, direction, and integrity. It's also about emotional fluency. You need to understand what you're feeling and why. You need to be able to express emotions without being consumed by them. It's not about bottling things up, it's about owning them. There's a difference between saying, "I'm fine," when you're not, versus saying, "I'm disappointed, but I'm not going to let it control me." That's power, that's clarity, that shows maturity. And when a woman sees a Man who has that kind of emotional clarity, it makes her feel like she's dealing with a grown man, not a boy pretending to be strong. This kind of emotional mastery also makes you unpredictable, not in a chaotic way, but in a stable, grounded way that keeps her interested. You're not emotionally predictable. You don't follow the script. You don't lash out, guilt trip, or collapse into neediness. She doesn't know exactly how you'll respond, and that unpredictability keeps her engaged. It's the difference between a man who's always trying to please her and a man who's always living in truth, whether that truth pleases her or not. Women respect truth, even if it challenges them, far more than they respect emotional compliance. And here's the deeper truth: when you develop emotional control, you stop fearing rejection, because you know that no one can take away your peace, your self-respect, or your emotional balance unless you allow it. You stop fearing loss. You stop fearing her disinterest. You realize that attraction is not about forcing someone to like you. It's about showing up as a full, centered, powerful version of yourself and letting that energy either resonate or not. If it does, great. If it doesn't, you stay grounded. You don't fall apart. You stay composed and keep moving forward, not because you're indifferent, but because you're in command of your inner world. Emotional control is ultimately about self-mastery. It's the ability to feel everything but remain owned by nothing. It's the strength to face hard moments with grace, to lead with calm in chaos, and to love without losing yourself. And that kind of strength is what separates men who get passed over from the men who are unforgettable, even to the women who didn't want them. At first, confidence isn't what most people think it is. It's not about being loud, arrogant, or pretending you have it all figured out. True confidence is much deeper, much quieter, and far more powerful. It's the kind of presence you feel from someone who knows who they are, doesn't need approval, and isn't afraid to be seen exactly as they are. When it comes to attracting a woman who may not initially be interested, confidence is often the bridge between being overlooked and being unforgettable. Because once a man begins to radiate genuine, grounded confidence, it changes the entire dynamic of how he's perceived, not just by women, but by everyone. The core of real confidence is self-trust. When a man trusts himself, his decisions, his instincts, his worth, he moves through the world differently. He walks with more intention. He speaks with more clarity. He listens without trying to impress. He doesn't second guess everything he says or worry about how he's being perceived. He's not trying to be someone else. He's just being himself fully and unapologetically. And this type of energy is magnetic, especially to women. Because while they may not consciously register every little detail, they feel the vibe. They feel the presence of a man who's at peace with himself. One of the most attractive traits in a man is the ability to show up as himself no matter who's watching. Most men only become confident when the environment is favorable, when the woman is already interested, when their friends are around, when they feel in control. But true confidence isn't conditional. It's not dependent on whether or not the woman likes you. It's not about how attractive she is, how rich you are, or how much social proof you have. It's the decision to be solid in who you are, whether people validate it or not. That's rare, and rare is attractive. Women are naturally drawn to strength, not brute force or ego-driven bravado, but inner strength, the kind that comes from a man who knows he can handle life, a man who can take rejection without collapsing, a man who can be vulnerable without apologizing for it, a man who doesn't perform for approval, but leads from alignment. And the reason this type of man is so appealing is because he brings certainty into uncertain situations. His confidence is an anchor. It creates safety, and safety, paradoxically, opens the door to desire. There's also a quiet boldness in true confidence. It allows you to take risks, not reckless ones, but intentional ones, like approaching a woman even if she hasn't shown obvious interest, like expressing interest without fearing rejection, like disagreeing with her without worrying if she'll walk away. Most men are terrified of losing a woman's attention, so they water themselves down, become overly agreeable, and try to avoid any conflict. But a confident man doesn't fear tension. He doesn't avoid difficult moments. He knows that attraction isn't built by trying to keep the peace at all costs. It's built by showing up honestly and allowing a woman to respond to who you really are. This also ties into the way you communicate. Confident men speak differently. They don't rush. They don't over-explain. They don't seek constant reassurance. They speak with precision because they're not trying to prove anything. Even in silence, they're powerful because they're comfortable in it. In fact, one of the strongest signals of confidence is the ability to hold eye contact without flinching, to pause before answering, to not fill every gap with nervous chatter. These subtle behaviors say so much more than flashy words ever could. Another critical part of confidence is self-acceptance. You cannot project real confidence if you're secretly ashamed of who you are. If you hate your body, your past, your failures, that energy leaks into everything you do. You may say confident things, but they won't land, because deep down you're seeking validation to cover your own self-rejection. Real confidence comes from doing the work to accept your flaws, own your mistakes, and stand firm in your truth. When a woman senses that a man is truly okay with himself, not perfect, but whole, it gives her permission to relax and show up more authentically too. The most confident men are also the most resilient. They're not afraid of no. They're not destroyed by a lack of attention. If a woman isn't interested, they don't take it personally. They don't try to manipulate her into changing her mind. They move forward not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. And this resilience is incredibly attractive, because it shows a woman that she doesn't have power over your emotions. You're not waiting on her to decide your value. You've already decided that, and now she gets to either opt in or walk away. That subtle reversal of power changes everything. Confidence also influences how you carry yourself physically. Your posture, your movements, your facial expressions, they all become more grounded, more deliberate. You're not fidgeting, you're not shrinking yourself, you're not hiding in your phone or avoiding eye contact. You're present, you take up space, you walk with purpose, you shake hands with intention, you laugh when you want to, not because you're trying to be liked. All of these small behaviors communicate confidence long before you even say a word. And here's the deeper layer. Confidence is built through action. You can't think your way into it. You build it by doing things that challenge you, by keeping promises to yourself, by stepping outside of your comfort zone not once, but repeatedly. Every time you push past resistance, you earn a little more respect for yourself, and over time that inner respect becomes outward confidence. You're no longer faking it, you're living it. You're walking proof that you've faced your fears and chosen growth over comfort, and that energy cannot be ignored. Women are intuitive. They can tell the difference between fake bravado and real confidence. They can sense when a man is trying too hard versus when he's just living in his power. And often, the moment she shifts from disinterest to curiosity isn't when you say the right thing. It's when she catches a glimpse of how deeply comfortable you are in your own skin. When she sees that you're not just confident in the moment, but consistently centered regardless of external conditions. That's when you become someone she wants to understand, not someone she wants to escape. That's when she starts leaning in, not because you tried to pull her closer, but because your energy drew her in without effort. The final, and perhaps most transformative, aspect of attracting any woman, even one who isn't initially interested, is developing a purpose-driven life. This isn't Motivational catchphrase. It's the embodiment of a man who is so deeply committed to his mission, so engrossed in building a meaningful life, that he becomes magnetic without even trying. When you live with purpose, you move differently, you think differently, you don't chase validation, you don't waste energy trying to convince someone to like you, because your life is already full of direction, clarity, and intention. And that kind of energy, grounded, focused, mission-oriented, is deeply attractive on a primal level. Most men don't realize that the root of neediness, desperation, and over-pursuit isn't about how they feel about women. It's about how they feel about themselves and their place in the world. When a man doesn't know who he is or what he's working toward, he starts looking for fulfillment through women. He starts measuring his worth by whether or not she responds, texts back, flirts, or shows interest. His mood rises and falls based on external approval, and that volatility is immediately sensed. Women may not be able to articulate it, but they feel when a man is empty, when he's using them as a substitute for his own lack of purpose, and that energy repels them, no matter how attractive or charming he may seem on the surface. But when you're driven by something deeper, when you have a vision for your life that excites you, a path you're building with or without anyone else, your entire vibe changes. You're no longer seeking attention, you're offering an experience. You're not pulling energy from others to feel alive. You're radiating energy because you're already alive inside. That shift is powerful. It takes you from being a man who pursues to a man who attracts, not because you're playing games, but because your life is already so rich, compelling that people, including women, want to be part of it. Living a purpose-driven life also creates boundaries without needing to force them. You don't entertain women who waste your time or play games, not because you're trying to be alpha, but because your time is sacred. You don't chase someone who isn't interested because you have bigger things to focus on. You don't collapse into relationships that distract you from your mission because you understand that your purpose isn't negotiable, and that level of self-respect, of non-negotiable standards, is intoxicating. Women are drawn to men who are unapologetically focused, because that focus communicates strength, leadership, and direction. Purpose gives you a gravitational pull. It makes you less reactive, less emotionally fragile, and more grounded in your decisions. You stop overanalyzing every interaction. You stop performing, you stop seeking, you become rooted in your identity, and from that place you become far more appealing, because women don't want to be the center of your life. They want to be inspired by it. They want to be swept into a narrative that's already unfolding. A man who is building something, whether it's a business, a body, a vision, or a legacy, doesn't need to beg for attention. His energy speaks for itself. The beauty of living with purpose is that it creates a natural filter. You stop chasing women who aren't aligned with your direction. You stop tolerating behavior that distracts you from your path. You begin to attract the kinds of women who respect your grind, admire your discipline, and want to support your mission, not derail it. These are the women who enhance your life, not complicate it. And ironically, many of the women who initially didn't see your value will start to look at you differently, not because you tried to win them over, but because your consistency and focus did the talking. Living with purpose also gives you emotional resilience. When you're locked in on your goals, the ups and downs of dating don't shake you as easily. You might get rejected, but it doesn't break you. You might face indifference, but it doesn't define you, because you know that no momentary setback can derail a man who's moving forward with intention. That emotional steadiness becomes part of your attractiveness. A woman might test you, she might pull away, she might not see your value right away, but if you remain consistent in your mission, focused in your execution and calm in your demeanor, she starts to feel something she didn't expect: respect. And from respect, attraction can grow. A man without purpose often feels lost. He seeks validation through women, attention, or shallow pleasures. He drifts, he overthinks, he feels invisible and resents it. But a man with purpose is lit from within. He doesn't have time to sulk. He's too busy evolving. And this evolution doesn't go unnoticed, because the world responds differently to a man who knows where he's going. His conversations carry weight. His presence carries substance. His silence even feels intentional. And women are especially attuned to that energy. They can feel the difference between a man who's anchored in his path and one who's floating, hoping someone saves him from his own uncertainty. Purpose also breeds discipline. You start making better choices, not because someone told you to, but because your vision demands it. You take care of your body because your body is your vehicle. You guard your energy because distraction is costly. You rise early, work late, refine your mind, and sharpen your skills because the life you want requires it. And all of that commitment shows. It shows in your confidence. It shows in your decisions. It shows in how you handle people, including women. You no longer need to prove your worth. You live it daily. And here's the thing: when you're living a purpose-driven life, you stop fearing whether or not a particular woman is interested, because you understand that your value isn't based on who chooses you. It's based on what you're building. You're not trying to be impressive. You're simply immersed in something greater than yourself, and that immersion, that fire, draws people to you, not because you chased them, but because they want to feel what you feel. They want to be close to the source of that energy. That is the true power of purpose. It turns you into a beacon, and people, including the woman who once overlooked you, start to notice the light. So in the end, attracting any woman, even one who wasn't initially interested, doesn't come down to tricks, lines, or manipulation. It comes down to who you are when no one's watching, when you're deeply confident, when your presence carries power, when you're live with intention and purpose. You become impossible to ignore. You stop chasing and start radiating. You no longer ask for attention. You command it. And once you become that kind of man, the game changes, because now it's not about trying to get her. It's about deciding who's worthy of standing beside you on the path you're already walking.